Hey, what's happening? Alright, so I am making this video in response to Patty Lynn's video to somebody else's response or reaction video or something about do you believe in past lives, simultaneous, or multiple lives? Yes, I do, very much so. And I'll tell you why here in just a minute.
The fact that some people think that we're living multiple lives simultaneously. That our souls are
Hold on. My bad. Forgot that mic was still on. Let me shut this mic off. I'll edit that out. How is that still on? Oh. Motherfucker.
different areas. And then you have the whole past life theory. So I'm just curious at what some people think. But if you will watch this video, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So while this stuff was happening to this other lady was experiencing these things. So the lady that was having the quote unquote grand mal seizures, well, she passed away. So the village, were doing what they do with their religion.
Now, I'm not going to go through this whole thing completely, but I mean, well, let me just get a little further, I guess.
With his photo album, and they went to India living. You guys have ever experienced else's life? To say this, if you haven't, I'm just curious if you guys have ever experienced any like past life memories, or if you had children. A lot of times, children will remember past lives at a very young age.
Okay, now that being said, I have a story to tell you. Okay, my father passed away in 2014, and I had my whole life I had wanted a little girl, and I have one little girl, but she's not biologically mine, and I've always wanted a little girl that was my little girl, my blood little girl. You know what I mean? A little copy of me, only female. So my dad passes away, and my wife ends up being pregnant. I am almost positive she's pregnant before. I'm almost positive she's pregnant before she is with my little girl. And so, sorry, messages were just coming in. I got somebody that's, I don't know if they're pretending to be or they are, but I'm getting messages from Ryan Upchurch, and I've been scammed before, so I know better than that, but this is a little different. I won't get into that because that's a different story, but that's what I was just reading. A message from whoever that may be. Very well may be him. Anyhow, after my dad passed, we had a little girl. Some things led up to, well, immediately after he passed, I could hear him in my brain. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, well, yeah, everybody can do that. I can make myself sound like Robert Downey Jr. or, Denzel Washington in my brain if I want to. That's not what I was talking. I was literally hearing my dad in my brain. And it was like he was there, and I'm like, man, I can hear this. I told my mother, I told my wife, I told just about everybody that was immediately close to me, because I thought I was nuts. I knew I wasn't, but I'm like, you guys might think that it's just the programming of him, but I hear him. I hear him. He's telling me things right now. Anyways, we get to the doctor's office to find out what sex, the day of the ultrasound. We walk in, and it's a brand new doctor's office. Me and my wife, we moved to a different county, different hospital, new doctor. we walk in, and there happens to be my grandmother, which is my dad's mom. And girls are very rare in our bloodline, so the fact that she was there, I just looked at my wife like, you got to be joking me. You already know. So then she was the one who found out first, or was to find out first in our family, to hear first that we were having a little girl. She's still alive. Shout out to you, Nana. Even though you probably will never watch this. Oh, hey, babies. Sorry, my dog just came in. My little Oakley. Anyways, fast forward. I hear my dad was for probably 2 or 3 years, you know, and I mean, he never said anything to me about the mess. I don't know. Maybe he did, and I just wasn't listening. I don't know, but I didn't hear him saying anything about reincarnation or any messages. And I just looked up, I saw 555 for whatever that's worth. And well, like, I don't know, it was like 2017, 18. I think it was like 2018. Maybe late 17. My mom messages me, and she tells me that there's this woman contacting her on Facebook through Messenger that is trying to say that she is clairvoyant, psychic, medium, and that she has been contacted by my father, Mick, to get a hold of her. Now, my flashback to a few years, well, a couple, like maybe 10 years before my dad died, 15 years before my dad died. In the TV guide, which probably nobody knows about anymore these days, you used to get a little booklet. You could buy it at the store. People used to have it mail delivered. My grandpa had it mail delivered all the time. You used to get this little booklet that gave you the programming, an hour of the channel, maybe a little description if you were lucky, of the itinerary for the television broadcasting throughout the week. Well, my mom saw somebody, Maria Duvall was her name, and I'll never forget it because my dad was mad. I don't know how much money my mom, I think a couple $100 maybe my mom, she might not have sent that much, I really don't know. I always say a couple $100 is pretty decent. It's enough, it was enough to piss my dad off, and it was enough to make sure that he made it very clear to her that you don't trust these quacks out here like that, you know what I mean? And not to say that all people are quacks, but there are definitely, like perhaps whoever was just messaging me just now, that hey, there are people out there trying to get theirs in an unsavory kind of way. Now, so she says, anyways, Maria Duvall ended up robbing her, taking her for her money. My mom never got her fortune told, and if it was that, hey, you might be coming into some money hardship here later. Or maybe some marital troubles. But anyways, I'm having these hearings of him, and then we get this message from this woman or whatever. So I was like, okay, well, go ahead. Tell her to call me up. I'll talk to her. I'll field this out right now. Well, the very first time I spoke to this woman, shout out to you. I'm not going to say your name, but shout out to you. Actually, I mean, I know she's on here. She's on Facebook. I mean, she's on YouTube. So, yeah, Tina B. Thomas, thank you. Thank you very much. I love you. I'll shout out to you for whatever it's worth. Hope you're doing okay. And, like I said, she's got a channel as well, Tina B. Thomas. She messages and she was telling me that, you know, my dad is wearing Indian moccasins up to his knees, short shorts. It was a jacket, like a buckskin jacket. And my dad was very particular with his vocabulary. So he didn't like a coat to be called a jacket or a blazer. You know, I mean, a coat was a coat, a jacket was a jacket, a blazer was a blazer. And he was very adamant to her about, hey, you make sure that they know that I'm wearing a jacket, a buckskin jacket. And I was like, okay, well, it definitely sounds like the hillbilly kind of, I mean, my dad was one time dressed in Speedos and a hot pink fishnet shirt and came in and ordered double cheeseburgers while I was working at McDonald's. And the kid behind me says, man, this guy's got to be, you know, a little bit out there. I mean, you know, no offense to anybody who's out there in that way, because it is, whatever. And I was, what do you mean, he's gay? And he says, yeah, he's gayer than gay. And I, who? And I turn around and I'm like, bro, I know that kid ain't, that guy's not gay. And he's like, how do you know? I says, my dad. He says, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm like, hey, dude. I mean, like, my dad himself, he's said it plenty of times. Why limit yourself to half the population, right? So, I mean, that's his business. So, it's definitely a meeting the specifications of what he would wear. Well, we're in the middle of this conversation, and mind you, we spoke for about 4.5 hours the first night that I ever talked to this woman. And I got the gist from right away. I mean, I felt like it was legit, but, you know, I try not to feed in too much of that stuff because people are good like that. Sleight of hand, sleight of mind, you know, feed you some BS that you fed them that you didn't even know you fed them, and they feed it back to you, and you're like, that was good. No, that's not me. Well, she sends me a picture of Crocodile Dundee. Now, up until this point, I'd never watched Crocodile Dundee. I know of him. I know the videos and stuff. To me, he was like another Steve Irwin, which was cool, but, you know what I mean? That's not my cup of tea. But when she sent me this Crocodile Dundee photo, I happened to look at it, and I thought, Crocodile Dundee, Mick Dundee, Mick Dundee, Mick Dundee. I'll be damned if that ain't his name, Mick. So that's my dad. So she said, well, that makes sense why I always get in the picture to send to you. Now, she told me that he told him, she said that she basically had told me about a dog that I had when I was about 6 or 7, maybe 8 years old. Actually, it's funny that she made a appearance here. She didn't make it on the video, but, oh, look, here she is. Can you see her? Oakley, there's my babies. And I say that because, oddly enough, that dog is my dog reincarnated from when I was 7 years old, and I know that. Different story, but I know that for a fact just as much as I know this one that I'm telling you about my father. So, funny that she's laying right there. This dog, normally she's up messing around with my kids and stuff. You know what I mean? My kids are up and active right now, but she's definitely... she's just chilling. She must have known. Total chill. She must have known that I was making this video so that she could be in there for proof. Now, sorry about that. She's telling me about my puppy that I had when I was very, very little, and she said that she wanted. Now, the way she spoke to me, she said a Chihuahua, and I've never had a Chihuahua. The only thing that ran through my mind about Chihuahua was the little Chihuahua dogs that used to be on Taco Bell. Yo quiero Taco Bell. My mom's name's Kato. So, yo quiero Taco Bell. We ate Taco Bell a lot when I was a kid. That's the only thing that, like, a Chihuahua resonated with me, you know what I mean? But which does have some significance, but she said, no, that's not the reasoning. And I said, she says, small dog, Chihuahua. I said, the only other thing that resonates with me with a small dog is Bo, who I was at my dad's sister's house for a weekend, and he got hit while I was gone. And I mean, he was just a puppy. It tore me up, you know what I mean? Like, it tore me up bad. I've had a lot of dogs die on me on that road. I didn't like chaining them up, you know what I mean? I lived right on a highway. I was a little kid, and I blame myself for a long time about the deaths that I caused these dogs to have. And that's diving deeper into my personal stuff, because it took me a long time to figure this out. You know what I mean? That, like, I was blaming myself because I had watched, well, I hadn't watched them get hit, but I had watched these dogs literally die in my arms as I was a kid, and blame myself because I remember going in and watching, Michael Jackson concerts and stuff. You know what I mean? And I've never changed my dog up. But my wife tells me a little bit later this year, or earlier this year, you know, later in my life, that maybe the do you realize that, because we got Oakley, that's her name was Oakley, my last name is Lee. So, I mean, the fact that, and the way that I got her was just so weird. We're not allowed to have pets, and, well, I mean, we can, but the landlords asked not to. And I just, one day I was like, I want my dog, and I got on Smart Pet Finder or Smart Pet Finder or whatever it is, and looked at my local adoption place, and it was the first page that I opened up. There she was, and I was like, oh, there's Bo, that's my dog. And I said, oh, don't worry, you'll come home. And so by the end of the day, she was here with me, and here she is. I mean, riding solid in a different life. Well, and that brings me back to my dad. This woman I had spoke to her for about a 3-month period. Okay, and I had mentioned very, very little of anybody else, because my dad was like a twin flame, or he was, I mean, I can't explain it. I would gladly give up every person I know today to have him back today. Y'all just seen that? That light just shut out? I know you did. Trip. Hey, Dad. I was just saying, and that, funny that my dad makes an appearance. That's me in the mirror there. But, hold on. Anyhow. I didn't mention anybody else, really. Not my wife, nobody else, because at that moment, I'm like, if this is really the connection of the other side to my dad, I was lost when he was gone, you know what I mean? And this has been about 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years that he'd been gone, and, well, about 4 years, I guess, 3 or 4, and I was just really on a soul path, you know, searching, and me and my wife were doing a little bit of, you know, we were doing some unhealthy things, and I had asked her how come my wife had been sick lately, and she's like, I don't know, I couldn't get a very good read on her, so put her on the phone so I can talk to her. And so I was like, all right, here. I handed my wife the phone, and it just turns out, well, then I watch her collapse on the floor, and I'm like, okay, what the fuck, you know, something, that's weird. And she had told me, I'm like, what happened? And she said, well, she just told me that the entire reason for all of this happening is that your dad told her that he is reincarnating into a boy in my family, due especially in March. And this is my wife speaking. Now, again, I remind you, I stress this, I never mentioned anything about my wife's family at all. Nothing. So there's no way she would have known this. And my wife only had one person in her whole family that was having a baby that year, or even close to that, and it was with a boy, and he was due in March. His name is Wyatt. I won't say his last name because his parents are not too hip on that. They were very close to me. They moved southern from, you know, down south from where we're at locally, and I explained all this to him, and he and I currently don't see the father, which is my wife's brother, which is insane. So my dad is my nephew. I've met him once, maybe, well, I've met him twice. You know, I've held him once, but I didn't get to do much like I would like to do, experimentate, and shit. You know what I'm saying. But I was delving into this with my daughter when my daughter was born, and I happened to ask some very leading questions when she has a birthmark, like right in this area, and it's a strawberry birthmark, and it looks like an arrowhead, honestly. And I say that, I can say that, and people will speculate that I am only filling that in because of what I was informed, and that's not true. It looked like somebody had shot her with an arrowhead prior to this, and ironically, maybe not ironically, maybe coincidentally, because it coincides, instead of a coincidence, it coincides. My mother has the same birthmark in the same spot. Well, I was doing some questions with my little girl one day, and she happened, because, I don't know, for whatever reason, I feel like I'm a little bit in tune. You know, I mean, for whatever that may be, I don't like to brag about it, because I definitely don't like to, I don't necessarily believe it myself sometimes. But I felt like she was a dog, my daughter. Maybe she was my dog. I don't know. Maybe I'm not. But this ain't Bo over here. Maybe this is my daughter. Heck, I don't know. But I felt like she was a dog. Every dog that we've ever been around, that dog's just licking my little girl's face. I mean, like crazy. Like, and we've been around some dogs where people are like, "Don't let your little girl." Oh my God, I've never seen that before. I'm like, what, dude? Like, and they're like, my dog is not friendly to people ever. And I've never seen my dog like that. That's happened to me on 3 separate occasions that I can readily identify right off the top of my head. So I always claimed that my little girl was a dog, you know, in her past life. And she told me, she said, when I was asking her one day, I said, what's that from? And she said that she was running from a man in that video game. And she was a dog in the video game. And she got shot by that arrow. Now, could she have heard me say some things? Maybe, possibly, but I mean, would she have picked up on that? I mean, that's neither here nor there. I mean, but so as far as that goes, and so yeah, I mean, I've reached out to some few people about trying to get this, because I don't know. My dad was very, very, very artistic, very crafty. He was disabled most of his life, so he did things with his hands. He taught himself how to crochet, and I mean, I'm not talking about like knitting and stuff. I'm talking about like blankets that had roses and filigree and artwork inside of the crochet work, and he taught himself how to do all of that. He he used to make stuff out of popsicle sticks. We used to eat popsicles and fudge sticks a lot. My dad was, pot belly guy. He liked fudge sticks. He liked his fudge sticks. So we'd have popsicle sticks a lot. And of course, I'm sure he bought them too, but I guess it was because I don't know. But he started making little knickknacks and stuff out of popsicle sticks. Well, he worked on this one boat that he named after the Pete Trudeau, after his grandfather. He worked on it for like 19 years. It's one of the most sacred pieces that he has of his artwork. There's just things that I know that I could easily do without subjugating the outcome in a negative way. There's some tests that I would just love to experiment with, but like I said, the father of this young man that my dad has become, and I believe him wholeheartedly. I mean, this woman would have not, there's no way that this woman from the other side of the country, she was more than 5, 6, 7 states away from me. There's no way she could have known this stuff from my childhood without it being true. There's no way. There was a few times that, in that 3 months that I had asked about, like, am I doing the right thing? I got in some trouble with some police, got brought home, some drugs, not good. And I was like, all right, I'm going to get you for sure right now. You're going to lie to me, because I know dang well my dad would not be anything but putting his foot in my butt for the stuff that just happened. And I never really pried on questions. I just asked. She said, well, do you have any questions? And I said, the only thing that I want to know is, am I headed in the right direction? And she come back and she told me, she said, does this have something to do with a truck and lights? Hand to whatever, God, Jesus, the universe, whatever, hand to honesty. I had never been pulled over by a police truck or even seen a police truck in my town until that night. And it was a 4-door pickup truck, SUV. I mean, it wasn't an SUV, but it was like, all, you know what I mean. But it wasn't a pickup truck. Now, I didn't tell anybody. I just barely told my wife about the incident, let alone anybody else. And I asked her, I said, how did you know that? And she said, your dad took me by the hand and walked me back through time so I could see it. Now, you take it for what it is. Go check out her channel. Hopefully this is a decent enough response for you, and I hope you like it. I have some other things to share with you, Patty Lynn specifically. If you would like, I've been trying to reach out to you for a while, so I'll just keep trying, keep making videos, and we'll hook up. I love you guys. Thanks.